You may not have heard of the UK's private train leasing firms, the ROSCOs, but if you've travelled by train in the last 30 years, you've almost certainly ridden on one of their trains. Maybe you've experienced frustrating delays or overcrowding and wondered how such issues persist despite the high cost of travel. Does that sound familiar?
Well, at the moment, I'd like to get a seat. I've just spent £93 on a return ticket and I can't get a seat.
When British Rail was dismantled in 1984, its fleets of trains were divided among three newly formed ROSCOs: Angel Trains, Eversholt Rail and Porterbrook. These companies were then sold off to private investors, and the plan was simple. Train operating companies would lease the trains they needed, rather than owning them outright. It seemed like a neat solution to lower costs and increase competition. But today, these same ROSCOs own most of the 19,000 vehicles registered to run Britain's railways, and have been accused of having a monopoly that sparked fierce criticism. In theory, this system allowed operators to focus on running services without having to worry about the capital-intensive business of owning the trains. However, in practice, it's been far more divisive. In 2023, the combined profits of these three major ROSCOs tripled from £122.3 million to £409.7 million. Every time you buy a ticket to travel, a proportion of the costs go towards paying the rent charged by ROSCOs to train operators. So, what exactly are the criticisms of ROSCOs? For starters, many argue that the leasing model has driven up costs. Operators pay high lease fees, which are then passed on to passengers, and critics claim ROSCOs have little incentive to invest in new trains unless there's a guaranteed financial return. This has led to accusations of profiteering, with cumulative dividends of around £2 billion paid out by ROSCOs over the past decade. The three major ROSCOs, Angel Trains, Eversholt and Porterbrook, are majority owned by overseas investors. For example, Angel Trains is 64% owned by Canada's public sector pension investment board, while Porterbrook stakeholders include the Canadian and German pension funds, as well as the Australian infrastructure investor, IFM Investors. This means a significant portion of the profits leaves the UK. ROSCOs have brought in much needed investment, but it's fair to say the model hasn't been perfect. There's limited competition between companies, and the fragmented systems makes long-term planning a challenge. Meanwhile, the average age of the rolling stock has increased, with some concerns about the age and condition of certain fleets across the UK. The system's flaws became particularly apparent in cases like the delayed introduction of new fleets, such as the Class 720s for Greater Anglia. Meanwhile, ageing fleets like the Pacers overstayed their welcome, partly because the leasing model didn't encourage timely replacement. So let's do a what if. What would happen if the government decided to bring rolling stock back into public ownership? Would it solve the issues? Supporters of nationalisation argue it would reduce costs by eliminating the profit margins of private ROSCOs. A publicly owned fleet would also mean better long-term planning and fairer distribution of trains across regions. But critics warn that it wouldn't be a silver bullet. A government-owned fleet would still face budget constraints, and there's no guarantee it would lead to lower fares or faster innovation. Additionally, untangling the complex finance arrangements of ROSCOs would prove a significant challenge. Rolling Stock Leasing Companies have played a pivotal role in shaping the modern UK rail network. Whether they're seen as essential investors or opportunistic middlemen, one thing is clear: they've left an indelible mark on the industry. The debate over their role and the future of train ownership in the UK continues, but if they are ever brought under government control, it's anyone's guess whether it will transform rail travel for the better or for the worse. What do you think? We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more insights from UK rail vids. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.